with Nick Cannon. He's actually been in the news heavy as of late over some recent comments he made in a recent over his recent his podcast. Is Cannon's? I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Cannon's class.
Cannon's class. There we go. I know it was like alliteration. It was like see something. Man, Nick Cannon loves alliteration. I peep. He likes, yeah. But not to get sidetracked. So recently, on his podcast, like Tax was saying on Cannon Class, he made some allegedly anti-Semitic comments towards, I guess I would say towards basically people not of color. You know, I'm trying to put it as delicate as possible. Fuck the delicacy. So he's making anti-Semitic comments saying that white people just don't know how to, not say all, but for the ones that are that exhibit, racist prejudice, racial prejudice against people of color. He says that because they lack melanin, they're unable to love or exhibit emotion or have some type of affection, is what he was saying. Because he was just saying like that's why people of color, he's saying they can't really quite be racist because they're having melanin and being able to sympathize. They are people of love and things like that. But as a result, Viacom came out to cut. They said they were not about his comments that was made, and Viacom cut him and Wildin' Out. Let me see if I got that right. So is Wildin' Out now say canceled, or did they just remove him as the host?
Nah, right now they're done showing that and stuff like that. There's no news about him getting removed as the host of his own show.
Because they took him, so let me just pull it right, because they said he took him, because Viacom took him, and as the executive, they took him off the executive producer of Wildin' Out. They took him off the seat. But let me pull that up. While you guys tell me what you guys think about basically what happened with Nick and the whole controversy about what he said about what Viacom pretty much dropping him, and then even what P. Diddy coming out with Revolt telling him that Nick, if he needs somewhere to go, or he's telling him just to come to Revolt and then to do work. What y'all think?
Honestly, like, so what he said kind of got bent out of proportion a bit.
I agree.
So what he was referencing to in that matter is like, when he referred to melanin, he said compassion. He didn't necessarily mean compassion. He more so, what's the thing he said after that was like a soul. And that is something, a far deeper level of talk than we can get into on here. But what he did though is explain that, white people of that time, like way back in like the Nordic regions and stuff like that, kind of had this like fight or die, fight or flight mentality, where it's just like they needed to survive by all means and stuff in that climate. And then eventually they work their way towards Africa, and they kind of like see that Africans have things like melanin and other stuff like that. And these are things on like gold and resources and stuff that they don't have. And they kind of had this mentality then of like, okay, well, I'm going to get this by force, because that's how they, basically were in that region. Is basically what he was trying to say. He's not saying now white people are are incapable of being loving and stuff like that. He's explaining kind of the history of how that came about. The anti-Semitic stuff came in really because like he kind of brought into question whether like the current Jewish people are actually the Jewish people. And throughout history, like in the Bible, right? This is God's people, the people of Israel, were enslaved by Egypt for like hundreds of years and created the pyramids. Well, it's difficult to be in the sun all day without melanin. So melanin makes it a lot easier to bear that, because otherwise your lack of melanin, your skin's gonna burn.
You listen, just people, just people don't know. Like Egypt, Egypt is hot. Egypt is hot. Like I'm like, yeah, like just to quickly,
I
uh,
thought they were aren't they depicted as brown? Because I at least from the depictures the depictions I've seen of like Jewish slaves, in I guess in most of the pictures that I've seen, especially like in like Prince of Egypt and shit like that. I mean, it's not like obviously a historically accurate one because there is no historically accurate depictions or like from that time, and I actually don't know
Well,
but
so
it's
here's the
like they're
thing,
brown.
right? Don't let the mummy fool you into thinking that Egyptians
don't let the
they were
mummy.
not white. And
Yo, that
don't
was my movie, but don't let the
let the
mummy fool
mummy
you. You right, Tax.
that white people who lack melanin built these pyramids and stuff. Like it's hard enough being out in the heat that long, but melanin kind of alleviates that a bit. So it's definitely difficult, like in that sense. But I think it's just like I think the way he said these things, kind of like people twisted it, like, "Oh my gosh, you hate white people" and stuff like that, and that's what got him fired.
I think a part of it was him not knowing how to explain himself thoroughly. I think is what you're getting at. Like he just didn't know how to phrase what he was trying to phrase correctly.
Um, yes, I agree with you in the sense that I think what he was saying, it's no, I think even what even again to back up what Tax was saying, he was saying something that would actually take too long to really try to dive into,
Mm,
just like on what with the time we have. Um, but
yeah.
Rico, Tax, you muted, bro. Is that intentional or no? Oh, okay, sorry. No, but basically, uh, yeah, he was basically just going into the fact that, and this is a conversation that has been
Mm,
that I've noticed is been actually circling around. You mean social media, the net, call it whatever you want, but is in the fact that um, the misrepresentation of Jews in history has widely been overlooked and I would say misrepresented,
mm,
because there's I think it's just because of the time, and especially with everybody being at home and having nothing else to do but be on the internet and actually just be this, less distractions when you hear these things. So when you hear these type of news, you're like more inclined to kind of look it up, as in myself. So basically, the what he was saying is that um, so there's research and material that shows that in fact Jewish people were of a much darker complexion, um,
Oh, like
and it's been said that that there's been groups of Jewish people that actually were black or that they are black.
well, like even so, if you look like right now, right, like in Israel, there are dark skinned Israeli people and Jewish people. Now,
Right.
granted, like with like Europeans like migrating across like the globes, a lot of them are lighter now. But even still, like you look at things like the Bible, which describes God as a like skin of bronze and like wool like hair. There's no white people with that. Look at the 12 tribes of Judah. You know, Judah was a black man, and these tribes are that. So like, the truth,
mm.
honestly, is out there. It's just I guess people are just mad he told the truth or just like misinterpreted what he said
I
because
think there's definitely misinterpretation of what he said,
because then
but
you're
I
trying to
think it was
seem like he's
important
a
to say what you
white
said.
supremacist or something like that now, and it's like no, like the reality of like of it is like when you look at the history of white people, like that even they show is like they show Vikings, they show like look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla, like all that kind of stuff like that, where like white people are straight up like savages, killing, raping, pillaging, and it's like it's okay for you guys as media to show this as your history, but Nick Cannon gets on his platform and affirms what you've shown, and suddenly you're upset.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, he's not saying white people are like that now, but he's saying historically this is how it's been for you guys. Like even like in America, like white people came over here from like America for like their own freedom, and guess what they did? They clapped up the fucking Indians. And it'll be how how long will it be until they change that narrative too? When are we gonna get in trouble for telling the truth?
Oh, that narrative's already been changed. What are you talking about? That
Yeah,
narrative has been flip flop.
came to an agreement that like once you guys
Waste
die,
of Sunday.
we'll take the land. And they expedited their deaths.
Expedited faster than Amazon Prime.
So like, I think people were just like, "Oh, he's saying that white people are like that." Now it's like, no, like historically, that's what it's been. Now, granted, you guys have like white people, you know, through things like civil rights, because even like during the times of like, you know, we were fighting for civil rights and stuff like that. Like, you still had games at the fair called like "Hit the Nigger Baby" and stuff like that. Like, the compassion for people that weren't you hasn't been there until more recently in America's history, let alone the history of the world.
Let alone the history of the world. Let's yeah. That I want to emphasize that. Like that's the one thing too is just I know the narratives are always focused on America because you know America is that country, pretty much to the world. Everyone is has a magnifying glass on America to see kind of the way America will turn out will affect kind of how the world will look and turn out. But safe to say, America isn't the world. Like there's other parts of the world. That means there's other parts of history that people don't really recognize or it's not really brought to the table for conversation. And that's what Nick Cannon was doing. And I know myself, I've done some, I've heard these narratives, done my own research, and am still doing my own research. Looking to invest in some books to read and actually read and learn what he's talking about because something I watched in response to Nick Cannon on IG. Um, One of the pages I look at, like the Black Coalition. One of these pages, he replied to, or he made a video basically about what Nick said, and one of the things he brought up was that Nick Cannon is actually enrolled in school. I don't know. I didn't fact check it myself, so I will actually do want to do my own fact check. He's like actually right now he's currently enrolled at Howard in psychology.
Yeah.
Like so Nick is actually learning. He's going through the steps. He's actually taking upon himself to learn basically about the human mind, about the human psyche, and just to learn. Basically he's learning about how people think and how people work. How do we work through our minds? And I think a lot of it, because in the narrative about Black Jews and stuff, what comes up is the fact that a lot about the conscious and subconscious being a real factor is into how history played out, and things like that. Because like I'm a man Tax was saying, shit don't add up. Like, how are you about to have people with very, very, very fair complexion out in the scorching suns and sands of Egypt? Like how that does not. There's like a picture. I remember seeing a picture on IG real fast. I'll say this too, because there's another point to the Nick Cannon thing I want to touch on. It was like a guy who was saying like he went to Egypt, he visited Egypt, and he had the craziest sunburn, bro. Like his skin had like welts on welts. Like his skin was like elevating, like from how bad his skin was burned, and he was just like, yo, like he was, just straight, like not, just way fair skin. I'm gonna say, I guess you say Caucasian. He was just like white skin. He was like a white guy. So like his skin was super red, like super red, tomato red. Supposedly after being in the sun, out when he was there visiting, and I was just like, that in itself should tell you is just like how. I mean, mostly seen through Hollywood, but how do you expect me to believe people of this complexion lived, not visited, lived? He visited and got it. He got his ass. His skin got his ass handed to him. How are you gonna expect me to believe that people of that complexion lived and ruled in that area for like years? Unless they quarantined and never left their houses and had AC back in I can't even say what year, but what are you trying to tell me? Basically. But tangent, we bringing it back. Let's bring it back to Nick. And basically, yeah, he was his words were taken out of context. I agree. I think it was taken out of context, and I think it's hard to have those conversations on TV, or I mean, just on social media without having to pack so much. So I think that's to your point, Rollo. That's actually was a good point. I think it could have been said better so that people were better, much more received what he was saying. But at the same time, who knows? I don't know. I understood what he was talking about, but I guess that's just different
I
audience.
mean, it's I don't know. It's rough for me to even like chime in on the whole situation because I feel like a lot of it was said either way. It just feels bad, like the way he said it or how it was said. I remember just watching. I was like, oh, that's a no bueno.
Because like it's like what he said, but how easily it could be taken out of context, and like basically that's what the media that's what's gonna be run with. Yeah, and that's what Viacom ran with. Oh man.
I mean, he apologized on Twitter. Like, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah,
After he got
I
fired.
just peeped his Twitter apology as well. I might even just pull it up.
Well, because his thing was is like, hey, like, this is what I understand, and I'm open to more information to help give me a better understanding of it. And because he didn't say, hey, I'm sorry, the first time he tweeted out, that's why he lost the job to Viacom. But, like, people are just, I don't know, people are dumb. But if he's getting dropped by Viacom, then my man needs his IP, man. Get my man wilding
Real
out.
rap.
Go somewhere
Get him
else.
wilding out. Like, I mean, real rap, you can't take what the amount of work and hustle he put into Wilding Out to make it what it is today.
Bro, wilding out and what's the stuff that's like literally saved MTV.
These are his tweets for those who.
I think I know the second part of the tweet is what I was most trying to understand as well, where he's like on the podcast he used words and reference literature that he assumed to be like factual and to uplift his community, right? But instead turned out to be hateful propaganda and stereotypical rhetoric that pained another community. For this, he's deeply sorry, but now together we can write a new chapter of healing.
Bro, I don't have time for let people be upset, bro. Oh my God, you hurt our feelings. I'm like, all right, well, you enslaved us for how many years? And then, like, once we were free, you treated us like shit for how many more years? Like, oh, your feelings are hurt?
Yeah, like, I mean,
oh, you think I care that your feelings are hurt?
Tax out here wilding. Tax out here wilding and out.
Walking down the street with a mask on because you people want me to wear one, yet your feelings are hurt? No, niggas don't care about that shit.
Niggas really don't. But, I think to Tax's point, it's just the fact that, right? And I think it just comes down, for me, it just comes down to fairness, like other people, quote, other people wild out on Twitter all the time and make other type of comments, but like it takes other people, whether it's Twitter or, a cancel culture movement to get other people to be canceled, and whether it's like, and I mean, come on, it's like whether it's like Me Too, like allegations, things like that. But the thing is, like he said, like Tax said, on his own platform. So it wasn't like on Wildin' Out. He was just like, hey, I know, Wildin' Out doing our thing, but I want to take a moment to kind of break away from from Wildin' Out tradition to say these things. Like that didn't happen. So but I understand, if when Viacom's like, whoa, you said things out of line, but at the same time, it's just with how quick it happened. Like, did he even I mean, come on, did he really have the time to like apologize? Like, was he even given the chance to apologize? I feel like they canceled him not too long after he made those comments. Like, he didn't even have time to think on it. Like, it was almost like as soon as he made it and put it out into the ether, like as soon as they got wind of it, they were already moving on it. They were already moving on him. Like, I just don't like. It's like, and then no, because I say this in respect to what else is going around where we want to hold people accountable for, just look at like things like Breonna Taylor, and how her murderers are still out there, and like how people are constantly just like, what's that going to happen? Where's the validation? But then when people want to get on Nick Cannon for things he just said, I mean, this, like, like at the end of the day, what he said was also just words. Like, we have people out there who committed murder, like they took someone's life and do no type of, uh, you know, no detriment, like no, like they didn't even invoke that type of violence on themselves. Breonna Taylor didn't do anything to bring that to her doorstep. It was brought to her, you know. So like people are really quick to come on him, but like we out here still can't get like bring murders to trial. Like I don't understand like people out here to vilify Nick Cannon for things he said, and even that he even brought, made it a point to say that, hey, I don't know, maybe I don't know exact, I'm still someone learning in this topic and subject, but let me just offer you what I think and what I know, giving you that disclaimer beforehand. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think it was, you know what? Maybe what he didn't say, what he said wasn't perfect, but the response, headphones flying off my head. But what the response to what he said, I think that was a little much too.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah, nobody died over his words. Like,
no one was sexually assaulted over his words.
yeah,
I'm
niggas.
just comparing it to through other activity people have got quote unquote canceled for, like yeah.
I mean,
Like
I mean,
he didn't say anything explicitly like racist about white people at all. It's just like he's explaining, their history, the history that's plastered in our face. It's like if you have a problem with what he said, as far as like
Take
the
it over
nature
history.
of white people back then, they're like, why aren't you boycotting Assassin's Creed for the game that they're like promoting so hard for this next gen that depicts exactly what he's talking about?
mm,
It's because the black man's doing it. That's all.
I don't know, man. You
yeah.
tell
I
me,
mean,
but
it's just a super. I think it's like a super like either like I want to say touchy subject. It feels weird to have like an opinion in it right now. I think that what he said and how he said it, I feel my gut reaction is just like it's wrong, and I get it. At the same time, like I think there's more to be learned from what he said, like why he said it, or how his theory or like what his theory came to be, or like where that root from.
true. I think I think I feel like what he wanted to do was to create a conversation to usually when people, when I'm thinking about it, if I was saying something like that, I wanted to kind of start a conversation to get what people think, to hear what
Mm,
people have to say, and kind of just unpack it that way. But
mm,
I feel like the real message of what he was trying to say was totally missed. Like it was overshadowed by anti-Semitic remarks, um, and then especially like the way, like how, like with Viacom, and how they came swiftly with the consequences to what he said.
yeah.
But then it's just like, but can we actually talk about what he was actually trying to say?
Mm,
Um, because we could agree, yeah, we could agree he didn't say it perfectly. He didn't say it the way he should have, and he probably should have chose better words. But can we talk about what he was actually trying to say?
I
That's
think
not, and I realize that's not what people want to talk about. So
I think
that
he
in itself is also part of the problem.
mm,
I
That's
think
it, that's my opinion, but I think that's also part of the problem.
I think he said that he deleted that episode too.
he did.
Really?
Yeah. It's an
Wow.
apology. He
I,
deleted it.
I, I mean, that does sound right because like with Viacom and that studio, that
He's
sounds
still
like
on Fox though.
something. I mean, it's already in the ether. What he said is already out there.
Yeah. I mean, he got canceled by Viacom, but Fox is still with him.
Interesting. I didn't know Fox was still with him. And we have Diddy out there. Give him a shout out. Try to have him come to revolt. Diddy out here trying to get all the black creators and artists to revolt. Y'all even peep?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, we should be working together on our own platforms. It's like
That is true.
Was it
But
he?
Diddy out here
He
recruiting. Diddy's like, yo, come my way. Like Diddy, I'm like, all right, Diddy. Because I've been watching Diddy on his IG page and his IG. My man giving everybody a shout. Like, yo, come through the revolt. And I'm just
Yeah, he tried to get was it Jesus and Mero back when they were still on Vice.
Word?
He came through to one of their episodes and was like, "Hey, you should just come to revolt." I'm like,
yeah, he's trying to get everybody
here though.
I'm saying, like,
bro, he about to hit us up for revolt. I might be like, all right, man, as long as we get, pineapple Ciroc at every episode, shit, we can work something out. Hit us up, Diddy. What up, Diddy? Come on. Bad boys for life, right? Tax out here, hella quiet. So I guess on that note.
well, I was talking, but.
Oh no, I thought you were like, you're not trying to get on revolt, but